You're listening to the At Your Request Show with Nick Collings. This is Up FM 107.5.
That it is. Good morning, one and all. Welcome along. It is the At Your Request Show. My name is Nick Collings, and I'll tell you what, we are all about bringing you something a little bit different. We never know who we might have on the phone line. And I'll tell you what, I've got a bit of a treat for you this morning. We're going to kick off the show, and we're going to be having a little chat, without a word of a lie, with Mr. Mike Kroeger, who is one part of the almighty Canadian group, rock gods, Nickelback. Mike, are you there, buddy?
You're too kind. Feel a little bit of performance anxiety here.
Let's do this. Now, Nickelback, for those that are unaware, are a Canadian rock band from Alberta, formed in 1995. Nickelback's music is classed as alternative rock. Nickelback is one of the most commercially successful Canadian groups, having sold almost 50 million albums worldwide, ranking as the 11th best-selling music act of the 2000s, and is the second best-selling foreign act in the US behind the Beatles for the 2000s. Now, Nickelback are back in little old NZ at the end of November, playing Victor Arena. Mike, how is your day going, my man?
It is going smashingly right now. I'm in a hammock watching the ocean in Hawaii.
That's absolutely amazing. First of all, can you give our listeners a bit of a lowdown as to how did Nickelback come about?
Well, I mean, it was kind of a situation where the three of us, me, Chad, and Ryan, our guitar player, and another singer. Chad was only playing guitar at the time. We were playing a lot of cover music and having fun, traveling around, getting paid a couple bucks here and there, and you know, trying not to actually do real work. And then it was decided that we'd like to record our own music, and Chad just turns out Chad can write songs. We got in there and made a 7-song EP, and then started just playing every gig we could play. We've done them all, good, bad, ugly. And since then, not much has changed except for the buildings are getting bigger that we play in, and the travel is getting easier.
Now, when was the first time you really thought, wow, this Nickelback thing isn't just kind of a bunch of guys practicing in a garage anymore, or doing, like you said, cover versions of stuff? When did it kind of get to that point you went, we've hit the big time?
Until we had released the single for How You Remind Me off the Silver Side Up record, everything to that point had been, I don't want to use the word failure, but it hadn't been a success. It was going okay. It was very, very slow in development, and we were getting really frustrated. But we just continued on and played, like I say, every gig in Canada we could get our hands on. It did every interview we could. We were doing all of our own work. We didn't have a record company, so Chad was phoning radio stations and working them because he's very persuasive, and I was handling sales, so I was pressing CDs and mailing them off to the record stores, and wherever we would tour, I would be able to hit them up and get them in the stores. And we were basically our own little operation, and then somebody heard it and heard that we had sold 20,000 copies in Canada by ourselves, which I think was an inflation of multiple of about 2 or 3. But they didn't need to know that, and they decided to sign us. And then we recorded Silver Side Up, and the first single was How You Remind Me. And when that popped and became in 2000, I believe it was in 2001, it became the most played song in the world. That was kind of a pretty good indication that things were turning around, and it was looking a lot better.
And this was all at the time where the internet was still very, very new. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the whole sort of illegal, or whatever you call it, file sharing, like an unsanctioned file sharing with, vis-a-vis Napster, etc., was just coming out. I think it was huge in getting the word out for us. I think it was critical, because people could have access to our music where they may have not gotten it otherwise.
And what do you think kind of now in 2012, with the amount of file sharing that's going on and the accessibility to all that music, do you think it has helped you or hindered you?
I think it still continues to be a net gain, really, because we still can get the word out and get the music out there and get people listening. The downside is that there's a lot of people not paying for it anymore, which is just kind of a fact of life in the music business now. The electronic dance music people had it right all the time. They just give it away, and then you would go and see them do shows. And that's kind of where everybody is now. You don't really make money from your music directly anymore just because people just don't pay for it.
Now, it's no hidden secret that, you guys, as Nickelback, you almost have a cult-like status for being disliked, especially on social media. For some people, it's a bit of a pastime. What do you say to those people that take pleasure from putting down Nickelback?
Well, I wouldn't say anything to them. I think they're having a pretty good time. There's never really been a better time for hate than with the advent of social media, and anybody with a keyboard and an internet connection can spew hate, and they can also say nice things, which is what our fans do when they come to our defense in a lot of those forums. Which I kind of have a kind of mixed feeling about that, because I don't think they deserve the vitriol that they get when they stand up for us. But, I don't think it's very hard to go negative on things. I think it's very easy, actually. It's kind of boring.
And at the end of the day, you still have 14 million followers or something similar on Facebook. Do you ever get a chance to actually look on Facebook and see what people are talking about?
Yeah, I get a little bit of it. I glance at it every once in a while. I don't take it seriously. I don't have a Facebook like a Facebook page myself, just because it seems to be sort of like a portal for stalkers. So I'm not really interested in any of that. But I kind of keep an eye on it. We have people that look after it for us, and we might dictate posts through them, and if we want to say something, we'll pass it through. So a lot of the time when there's a post on the Nickelback Facebook, it might not be input by us, but it is us dictating what we want to be said.
And how does one stand longevity, especially in the music industry with all the changes for well over 15 years?
I think it's up to the people. If people all of a sudden stopped, the limited amount of music they are buying, which is the reason I say that is because that's the only way to really track. Back a few years, 10, the only way you knew how you were doing was based on sales. It was kind of like a barometer for how you're succeeding in getting your message through, and if people liked it. Now that barometer doesn't exist, to the same degree. You get about 15%. If you take that number of what you've sold, you can kind of equate it to about 15% of what's really out there. And so it's just become harder and harder to tell how good you're doing. But the one way you can tell is by going on the road, and when the people show up in droves, as they do for our shows, that's the evidence right there, and that's what keeps us going.
Nickelback are playing in little old NZ at Auckland Victor Arena November 30th. What's your favourite thing about coming to New Zealand?
The pies, man.
The pies. What's your favourite flavour?
I think actually, the beef curry, but the best I think is the pub life. To be honest with you, so fun. We've had so much fun in the pubs, and don't ask me the names because I probably knew them when I went in, but I didn't know them when I went out.
Now, you do spend a fair bit of your time touring right around the world. How do you resolve issues within the band? You've got to get on each other's nerves. How do you deal with that?
Getting on each other's nerves thing is kind of really kind of loosened up a little bit over the years. I think as we all kind of mellow out a little bit, and things aren't really that hard. I think that the most conflict we've ever had was when things just weren't going very good and we were having a hard time. But now, the problems are a lot smaller, that we have to deal with, and so we don't really. It doesn't really make for good press, but we just don't have any of that. We don't fight. We work things out, and not to say that we don't have differences of opinion from time to time, but I don't think anybody can say that they don't have that. But it's nothing that we can't work through. Over the years, we've always been through worse.
And finally, to end things out, what's one piece of advice that you've never forgotten?
Oh man, there's so much. Here it is. This is one of my favorites, and it's really helped me through. It was given to me by a lawyer that we had, of all things, a lawyer. My God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but never mind that. It was actually very poignant and good advice. And the advice was never underestimate the stupidity, greed, or laziness of your fellow man.
And with that, Nickelback are playing Victor Arena November 30th. Tickets are on sale right now from ticketmaster.co.nz. Mike, have a fantastic day. Enjoy that hammock. Enjoy Hawaii. And we'll see you here in New Zealand very, very soon.
All right. Can't wait, man.
Excellent. Have a great day.
You too.